Everybody, WoW Soloist here. It's July 24th and the first part of War of the Thorns has dropped, and this is the Alliance version. So I'll walk you through the actual quests in sort of real time, minus the traveling, so we'll just cut out the travel bits. And we will end up with, in the end, unlocking world quests in Darkshore. And then at the very end, I will go to an alt and show you what happens when you say, I don't want to do this whole quest line again. This is the first day that this dropped, and you will see it's laggy. There's tons of people, and it's all the things that a first day of a...
Just a moment, Your Majesty. New information has come to light.
Of a first
Never lose hope.
Scenario for a new X-Pack or pre-patch. Now, if you're doing this, you see the people running off to the right toward the garden. I've cut that part, but there is a portal in there that will take you to Astronar, right to the quest giver that you need, past all the mobs. So this chap here is just giving you that. So here's the quest giver.
So many bodies. We tried to set a trap for the Horde. It failed. We could not stop them. Our outposts were taken by surprise. They fell one by one. The guards were poisoned. And the civilians, not even they were spared. I only hope some managed to flee before. Forgive me, friend. Who did you say you were? Are you the one Malfurion spoke of? There are more wisps than I can count. The loss of life. Merciful Illume, please bless the fallen.
Do you hear the screams?
So this is basically your tank and spank and kill how many type of quest line, but here's where it gets sad. Poor Astronar, if you've ever been through here. I have a couple of night elves. Look at this, the leatherworking trainer is a corpse. Oh, that's so sad. Anyway, you can't go home again, as they say. If you're thinking about getting a feel for how this works, this toon before the squish was able to one-shot worm tongues in Antoran Wastes in Argus and two-shot the big Felguards in Argus in Antoran Wastes. So she's having to hit these guys a lot harder than that. She had about a 920 weapon before the squish. So it's what, 192 or something now? And she was 930 gear before the squish. So just gauge yourself accordingly, and don't let these guys gang up on you unless you're pretty sure of your protective capability. In this case, she's got Roots of Shaladrassel, so as long as she stands still, she heals a lot. Like in 30 seconds, she heals 100%. I learned something here. Never use a bird as your pet when you're recording something. The squeals are worse than watching all these wisps pouring up into the sky. Anyway.
I am glad you stand with us. people will endure.
I did leave in a few of the travelogue pieces, just in terms of getting from Astronar up to the edge of Darkshore here, just in case you're not familiar with this neighborhood and haven't leveled a whole bunch of night elves and Draenei to ad nauseum in this area in the past. It is actually cool to see it though one more time before things happen. This is very typical pre-patch or entry scenario to an expansion stuff. The quest lines are not as polished for some reason as the normal quest lines in the actual expansion body itself. You see little discontinuities, like he's telling you you can go through the wisps when you've already gone through. What's also odd, of course, is that the worst part I found is that there's no concept of breadcrumb quests in this kind of a scenario or set of introductory to an X-Pack. It just leaves you in places, and this is the worst one I've seen yet. Make sure if you're confused or lost, you either check a video like this or you check the actual text of the quest. That'll tell you where Malfurion has gone this time. Because he literally takes off and doesn't give you a lot of hints. In this case, he's given you a couple of quests, and you have to figure out on the map where you're going to turn them into. He has gone to the Grove of the Ancients as a hint, because you're telling these people to go save the grove, so it does make sense that's where he is, but that's just the way it is. Later on, I'll show you where some weird things happen. They actually, I didn't put that in this video, but they actually happened to my alt when she came through here. When you get to the world quests about the Shredder, some very strange things can happen, and you got to be very careful. If you're thrashing or whatever, that you don't bring in mobs from a different quest line that are like vehicle kill 50 type mobs that are all, of course, elites, max level elites, and if you bring like 20 of them on your head because you thrashed a little close to the edge, so basically the quest areas here are a little close together when you get in toward the Grove of the Ancients, but we'll see that in a few minutes. Hunter has more control, so you know, unless she sprays a barrage, which I do normally only deliberately, if I want to draw in a bunch of mobs. And frankly, targeting has been a real issue through Legion, in my opinion, and barrage has suffered the worst from targeting. You can barrage a whole pile of mobs, and if you did not select one of them first, none of them get targeted. You just hit them with a whole pile of armament and bullets and things, and none of them really care to be linked to you as a target. It's been pretty frustrating through Legion for the Hunter targeting, I think. There's also some inconsistencies. Some of the quests and world quests give loot, some don't. Also, this was being tuned literally between this run and an immediate after run on my alt. There were more of certain kinds of mobs. Some of these quests, like this one, have lots of mobs for opening day, but when everyone's hitting at once. But there are some areas you'll find where there's just not enough mobs, you'll see here. And by the time that the next character of mine ran through it, you know, half an hour or less later, there were tons of mobs. They had greatly increased. Now maybe most of the people had gone away at that point, but there just seemed to be a lot more mobs spawning. This quest suffers a little from storytelling in that if these guys are so ferocious, these furbolgs, why are some of them sleeping and you have to like kill them in the middle of their nap? But anyway, try to avoid killing them in the middle of their nap, unless, of course, they wake up and attack you like that one. Flying is your friend, but check the map first, because you may be going back to where you were, but in fact, no. The quest receiver is ahead of you. Of course, she probably said she was going to meet you up here, right? I found throughout you really have to check the text to see where you're handing things into. And then there's this guy. This big shredder thing here at the Grove of the Ancients. Oh, and by the way, while we're here, there's another issue. See those whitish colored exclamation points? I'll hover over one to show you. It's like a 25 copper quest. This character has never been in Darkshore before, and so she basically has quests that are baby quests for level 10 people. This guy does not spawn often enough for a reason. You will see when there's world quests, he is both a world quest mob and a questline mob. So you come back and kill him again. What that means is he's not up as often as you'd like him to be for the questline. And you have to wait for him to show up. Doesn't make a lot of sense when she says, "You go handle the shredder." What shredder? Also, you notice here you've got druid, bears, and kitties helping you. When you come back, this is a 110 elite, so he's not anything great, but when you come back, you're on your own. As a world quest, you don't get the help. He's just a slow fight, a little bit of a slow fight. He's certainly not a... doesn't seem to hit distanced at all. Melee could be another issue. If I'm leaving these quest boxes up a little long, it was just that I was making absolutely sure I read them thoroughly because I was tired of going to the wrong place to take them back in. Here's another goodie. Will you settle down so I can get the quest from you, lady? That was hilarious. Now, next thing was part me. I had forgotten, because I haven't played this character much since 801 dropped, is I'd forgotten they gave camouflage back to Beast Mastery, which we had lost for at least one expansion, and so I didn't bother with camouflage here. And actually, she starts giving you camouflage anyway to go through the camp, but it drops off sometimes and she doesn't reapply it, and then she gives you a hissy fit, a lecture like she's about to give me, for just, she's out, she's not camied there, she uncamied, and then she camied us both, and gives me a lecture about, you know, being quiet and not like attacking these guys and drawing a lot of attention. I did not use the button on the screen. You can call her down. I guess they've done quite a bit. This whole quest line is a lot easier than the last previous expansions, I think, including Mists and Warlords and Legion. This is a lot easier quest line, and they've given you extra supports for lower level characters who just may not have geared up very much. So I found this to be much more of a softy beginner intro than the typical intros that you get. Maybe because it's a pre-patch. I'm used to things like Guild Wars 2 where you have to run a full scenario to get into the any new expansion, and also to progress to opening up new zones and things. You have to do living world scenarios, and they're tough, and they're mainly solo, and they're tough. At least I always found them tough. This thing is a hoot. When it blows up, it throws you all around. Just don't get caught in a hole like I did once here. Now, she keeps telling you to kill a whole bunch of them, so by the time you're done, you've probably killed a quarter of the camp. And then she starts to go on you about, you know, not picking on something that didn't hit you first. And of course, though this is the pre-patch, we're still using the old low-level pre-Argus cloth drops here, just because you wanted more of that. I wonder if you can change that background color of something is attacking you while your map is up versus your health is low. Red to me says your health is low. Maybe yellow or orange might be better. Oh, here's where he threw me in a hole. Help! 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 Can't get out of the hole. Oh, there we are. At this point, don't do what I did. Well, I'm ahead of it. When it comes getting the second chieftain, just fly up. Don't try to climb that hill. It's just going to waste your time. Now, you could ask from a lore perspective, why are we only saving the chieftains and we're basically letting all his tribe die out? So, yeah. This is the hillside you want to fly up. See, she hops around. She's really a little tough to nail down to turn the quests in. And my mouse was not doing well here. I think my mouse is breaking, and also it was a thunderstormy, laggy day here for me, internet-wise. Don't try to go up this hill. Doesn't work. But also it was quite a lot of server lag. I think this had been up for all of maybe 2 hours when I ran this. So there were a lot of people around. But it was well designed in that it mostly, as you see, went quicker because there were more people. At least in these early quests there were lots of mobs, and I didn't find the normal contention at all. In the later quests there was some. There are some mobs that when you hit them they gray out. Most of the mobs do not. They stay red, so multiple of you can hit the same mob. Trying to find some of these chieftains when it's been, 5 years since I've been into this zone with a character. But yeah, mobs in a scenario like this, they should all be cooperative loot, cooperative kill. They should all stay red throughout their whole being killed and looted, whereas most of them did, and some of them did not. Some of them turned gray, which is when you get mob contention. Okay, now there, she could have said, hey, turn that quest into me too, just like the last one, and we'll fly together, and here's a little breadcrumb quest to go see Oro or Malfurion or whoever you're going to see here in the grove. But sorry, Onu. Just some little things that I, think could have been better polished, but that polish you usually see in the actual expansion body, not in the pre-patch, even intro scenario stuff, at least not at the beginning. Back to my favorite island. This island was just so much fun when you couldn't fly. Getting to all of the levels up and down. Now again, okay. I guess I have to click on this piece of azurite. But why does it break? Never mind. Okay, ignore shiny puddles. Thought I'd check them out just to make sure. You want the things that look like mining nodes. You want the things that look like the broken azurite after you broke it. Even though you're collecting azurite, you'd think it would look like the one before you broke it, but never mind. This one's handy because the mobs keep parachuting in on you, so you don't run out of mobs. And there doesn't seem to be any node contention. The nodes stay lootable until you loot them. And yes, that was my cat telling me that he wants to sit where my microphone is. So. I guess this dead, rotted, partially eaten Threshodon was there before, but maybe not. Little tip, don't do what I did. Land on the top one and jump down. Don't land on the bottom one because you can't jump up and you gotta fly and it just slows it all down. I think they could have sped this up a bit by not saying you need 10 mobs. How about maybe if you needed 7 mobs? Now what's nice is if you have a low-level alt you want to gather a bit of gold on, these guys do, the ones that drop loot do drop gold, so you might want to actually endure running more mobs through, or more alts, sorry, through the scenario just to pick up a little extra gold if they're lower level alts and they can do this. But then again, I imagine if they're able to do this, then they've been picking up missions and world quests on Argus or whatever to give them more gold anyway. I will run the Horde one from the Horde side. You don't have to. Apparently, if you run one faction, this quest line, then you will unlock the world quests for both factions. Now, there is a mount that you get somewhere along the line, and there's, I think when you finish all 3 weeks of these, this is just week 1, so it's part of the quest line, when the full burning of Teldrassil and possibly even Lordaeron, when you finish anyway the 3 weeks of quest line for War of Thorns, then you will get a mount, and I'm assuming that that mount is one of those that converts. If you're a Hordey, you get, it's the Horde version, and if you're on your Alliance character, it's the Alliance version. But I will go through this quest line again with my Horde alt just to make me, my 110 Horde alt, just to make sure that I've recorded it. I'm sure a lot of people will have recorded it. So you'll see it from both sides. I only need 1 more mob. I'm not going to take out 3 just in case someone else wants them. We'll just run on top of this guy, and that's called run into his face targeting. The targeting AI can't get that screwed up. I don't know. I guess that's those flying planes that are throwing that goo. I never had it damage anybody, but it's a noisy day for recording today. I have a dog pacing around and a cat meowing, so it's then I guess I should be recording when they've settled down a bit more. It's been very hot and humid here for basically 2 months, and it's thunderstorms today, so they're really they're a little bit sucky, or I guess one could say restless. Alright, so here's another case of, well, on the map I know Malfurion's here somewhere. I guess it's the confusion of battle. Where the heck is he? I don't see him. Alright, well, I got there. How come those things are hostile? I think they didn't take those guys out. They were probably there from before. 3 little tigers or something. Alright, he's not here. He's not here. Oh, there he is. This place is horrible when you're a level 10, 15 and you can't fly. Because it's all up and down, sideways, little paths and... Okay, jump into a tree. And there's so many trees. Wait till it's your turn. I love vehicle quests. I really do. I hope this shows up as a world quest. It didn't today. I just love vehicles. That giant Yeti in Pandaria was just so good. You take out all your frustrations. Jump on a million monkeys posing. This didn't always work well. It seemed inconsistent. Maybe it's because I had helpers back there. Jumping on them doesn't normally kill them. It stuns them. But if they're already stunned or damaged, then it will kill them, maybe. The boulder is not very strong, but if you've already jumped on them, you can smash them up. It's not my most OP ever feeling vehicle quest, for sure. But bopping them on the head with a big rock is somewhat satisfying after you've had to hit them 3 times to get rid of them. Bop. See, that didn't even work. As I was saying earlier, you do not want your character to walk into this area not on the vehicle, because these guys are all, or many of them are, elites. And they hit hard and they come at you if you wander in here unprotected just as a character. You better be able to run fast. Whether you intended to come in here or just, these are the guys that I mentioned earlier that I caught with a brutal slash that had been extended by a legendary, and because my druid who I came in here with next had loofahs, and so she wound up, for some reason when she was killing the shredder for the world quest, she brought like about a dozen or 20 of these guys in on her head. I still don't know how, unless maybe somebody trained them on top of me. But yeah, it's a good thing she was a kitty, because she needed to run for her life. Yeah, he does take you back there. He's just slow about it right now because there's a lot of trees in action at the same time. Yeah, so this is another one of these where he says, hey, I'll meet you in Darnassus. Well, gee, thanks. Did you give me a portal, or maybe like Captain What's-Her-Name could be? He says something about he'll get to her. This is interesting. As I was flying up and I edited the flight path out, I triggered an achievement from Cataclysm that this character had never been in this zone before, and it turned out that this was the last place touched by the Cataclysm, because this little city here was destroyed, little town was destroyed, and Lord Enel up here that we're about to fly up to became the main hub in Darkshore. And this, I guess, was the last place touched by the Cataclysm that she hadn't seen. So obviously I didn't care too much about that particular achievement, and she just dinged it flying by. So I've left the rest of this little flight into here and not edited it out, because that's Lord Enel there you're seeing with the tower. You can take a flight over from here, or you can fly. If you have really, really low, slow flying, you'll probably still make it sort of comfortably. This character has not 310. She doesn't have the top mastery. She's got the second to top flying speed. And you'll see she's down to about 60% health with fatigue. Fatigue meter to me is like a gas tank in a car or a truck. It always seems that the last half goes faster. So I tend to not like to take fatiguey trips where I'm going to wind up below half health. So as you see, if you've got good flying skills, you don't need to take the taxi. Now I'm doing a little tiny bit of sightseeing here, because I haven't been here in a while, and this place has definitely been optically freshened up a little bit. The colors are brighter since the last time I came in here. The textures are still the same, but the texture colors seem to pop a lot better. Nice thing is, if you take that portal and the flight path, if you take the flight path over, it leaves you at that, just beside that portal, so you just run in the portal and you get your quest giver here. I did this, I guess, in slightly the wrong order, you'll see. It doesn't matter, really. But I would recommend going to do the priestesses at the temple first probably, then come and do these guys over here, who were a little hard to find because they're hidden behind these big protectors, trees. Whoa, not that far. Is it this little group? No, that's the cat vendor. There we are. Now some of the animations are really cute when you summon these guys to action, like this one. Out go everybody, all the druids turn into trees or cats and go running off, and there's some dryads hiding under there. They take off. It's cute. Yeah, here's where I think you should do the priestess first, because it just makes more story sense, and then fly out to the front gate. second or third, but yeah, it's all right. It's neat to see the Night Elven army. And Air Force. And it's Darnassus. You can run into a tree. It really is a shame they decided to burn it, but oh my god, these textures on the temples, they so need to be redrawn. And you'll see me linger in a couple of spots because if you come back to this using Zydormi, it won't be, of course, during this scenario, so it will be different. It'll be the old level 1 to 10 scenario. Now again, where am I going? Wouldn't it be nice if the quest giver was still here and she said, oh, Breadcrumb, go see Malfurion in wherever. Okay, well then you better look up the quest again and see where am I going. In my case, I just said, he's not here. Maybe he's here. Check the map. Oh, yeah, there he is. He's out on the dock. Okay. Now, you're going to see this presently after we go through the world quests, because there's only 4 of them. But this is where you wind up as an alt. If you say skip this whole thing, I've seen it before, you wind up right here just after these 2 guys finish their little conversation. Now you're going to have the same problem you have here with your alt. It's like, huh? Am I done? Is that it? Okay, that's it? It's done? Oh, okay. I guess I'm on my own now. Let's go. Now, we know that Darkshore has some world quests in it, and I happen to know there are 4 of them. 1 today, 1 way up in the north, and 3 way down in the south, and nothing in the middle. Weirdly enough. That puzzled me too, because the north one makes sense, but why not have ones in the middle so that on first day you're not world questing in the same zone that people are trying to do their intro quest lines on. This is where I was hanging around because I was looking at all the neat soldiers, sailors on the boats, and you don't normally get to see the Night Elf Navy in port. And when you go back with Zydormi, you won't see that again. You'll get the normal every day. And here's the Night Elf Navy in Lordanelle as well, which is kind of cool. I like how all the ships have the Night Elf and Gate, Moon Gate, which I didn't ever know before the Astronar scenario here today, that the wisps go into the light through the top of that center of the top of that gate. So maybe that's why they have these gates on their ships, in case their sailors pass. The wisps have a gate to go into the light. No, interesting. Just some art design that's always been there, and I never really understood why, or that there was any reason why. Maybe there still isn't, but okay. So this is called repurposing. This is an old, this is an alliance questing area, low-level questing area, and this has always been a little horde camp that you had to go in and invade and destroy supplies and maybe free prisoners. So they've utilized the supply destruction and the prisoners and the mobs and turned them into a world quest zone. This one is one of those, you know, like a bonus questing zone. It gives no loot. Maybe because as a low-level questing zone, maybe it gave no loot. I don't know. This one doesn't give loot. It gives a quest reward at the end, but it doesn't give individual NPC loot. I kept checking, but no, it didn't. Get out of my way, tree. There we go. And yes, this first pass through, you will see me walk by crates that I could have taken out and saved myself a few extra points in maybe a minute or two, but whatever. And I'm not in line of sight, I'm not in line of sight, how can I not be in line of sight? Anyway. The rules in old vanilla low-level questing zones about line of sight were much tighter than we have. See, I just missed that crate. They were a lot tighter than they are today, and so a lot of this has just been repurposed, and a lot of those rules still hold. Or maybe that's how BFA is going to be, but I wouldn't judge from this, because this questing zone has been around a long time. Run by the crate again. Mob! This is where I used Barrage, hoping that it might actually pick a target out of that mess so I didn't have to tab target it, but no, it didn't give me anybody there. None of those guys that I hit got credited to me at all, but there's no loot, so who cares? Pick up the crate. No! Always great when you see yourself later on video. Why did I not see that crate? Barrage did its job here, because there wasn't another player. It pulled that guy over. I'm not sure I'm going to want to run this world quest very many times. It's more than a little slow, and I could be running Operation Murloc Freedom. But this is giving, you'll see at the end, the gear here is not bad. I mean, we're talking about a 930 eye level average character. And the gear she's pulling out of this, the boots she got were worth putting on. Like they were 212 or something. Boots or pants? No, it wouldn't have been pants. Actually, I think it was perhaps pants or something there. There was, her pants are 265, you know, formerly 1000 legendary, and she's not going to give up on Roots of Shaladrassel until it no longer procs its healing, but unless she finds something really much, much better to compensate. But this was, the piece that she got out of here was almost good enough. If the pants lost the proc, this was almost good enough to replace it. Why am I running down to the docks? Because like a lot of these zones these days, it doesn't seem like you can drop aggro to fly. So different if you're a druid, you can fly out of combat sometimes, sometimes not. But the hunter is stuck with trying to drop aggro somewhere. And that was just one of those zones. It's first day, it's laggy. But again, I would have really liked a couple of world quests in the center area and not have to fly all the way back and contend on mobs and territory with the actual people doing the initial quest line. And yes, Darkshore is long. It's like Feralas, it's like long. And no, I don't know what happens if you fly into that thing. It doesn't hurt to fly by it. I don't know if I ever tried flying into it. I think it's just optical, but I'm not sure. It's not like the lightning storm tornado that goes through Antoran Wastes and basically one-shots you. Oh yeah, this was cool. Hey there, let's go. Oh, wait, where'd that go? Oh, it's back. It seemed to only be this one. I tried it with 2 characters, but on the other hand, it's always the first one I've tried has always been that particular oil well, so maybe it's just that oil well, or maybe it's just the first one you touch. You have to back off and come back at it. At least this one's not blowing you across the scenery. Now, remember while you're here, this is one where there was mob contention and it was much better when I came back in the second time. You do want these goblins, so don't just run by them like I just did and then go, oh, why didn't that world quest end? Oh, I need the goblins. Darn, barrage time. Everyone was running around here trying to find enough of these goblins because there were few and far between of them. And this area has some scaled up gnarly little elementals that just slow you down. I mean, they're no great risk to you. They hit less hard than the goblins do, but they're just a PETA because they slow you down. Mob, where's the mob? Are they out here? No, none of them out here. Cross the area, time to go back. Aggro a couple of elementals. So that guy's doing no damage. I was moving, so the legendary pants weren't doing me any good there, and yet he wasn't doing any damage. Not on distance, on ranged anyway. Like, where are these goblins? The answer is they're mainly clustered around the wells, even if it's an area where the well used to be. Oh, leave this guy alone. Don't take this. He's nothing to do with this. They scaled him up, but he's, as far as I can tell, he's nothing to do with this quest line at all. He's a really dumb poacher who's trying to poach a druid in animal form. And he throws those nasty little traps. Get away from that. Can you catch a quillin in a trap? Never mind. Philosophical question. It's a moving statue, so. Okay, now some of them are not near the wells. Some of them are hidden way in there. This is called getting frustrated, and let's just pull every mob in the neighborhood, test out the pants, stand still, and let's just conflagrate a bunch of them here because we got to get this done quicker. Okay, so that's almost done. And we have the other little bugs like, oh, there looks like there's loot over there. Why don't you go fetch? There's no loot over there. Yes, there is. I don't want to run through the fire. I'm not going to fetch. See? There's loot over here. Little stuff like that. One-time scenario. How much debugging really are you going to put into it? I usually find, though, that the intro scenarios in the actual .03 XPack opener, like we're getting in August 14th, I usually find those scenarios are rough on the first day because there's bugs as well, little bugs, tiny bugs, as well as like polish bugs, as well as of course, far too many people trying to run it at once. But those polish bugs, if you have an alt run it months later, if you need to, then you'll find those polish bugs are usually cleaned up. So it's not that they don't get dealt with, but usually not in time. This is a weird transmog piece. Again, if your weapon wasn't an artifact weapon, that weapon was pretty much equivalent, just a tiny bit lower than my artifact weapon, and my artifact weapon was around 915, 920. So this is just a little bit less than my artifact weapon was, but it's a big, ugly blunderbuss. Anyway, I guess this is the blunderbuss release. I have no idea what my cat is talking to, but while I'm recording, my cat is deciding to have a chat with something. Since he's making boy noises and he's neutered, I'm assuming he's found a friend through the patio doors or something. Now, here again, this is, as we said earlier, this is the same shredder that you shredded last time, but it takes you twice as long. But as you notice, at least with the shell drassel pants, he doesn't even hit me. Doesn't even hit the pet. But it takes you twice as long to get him because no druids are helping you this time. And then you have to do this quest again. But I think instead of 10 furbolgs, you only have to kill 7, which is what it should have been the first time, frankly, but whatever. So if it drops Wakening, the attitude I'm going to take, if it drops Wakening Essences or it drops money, I will probably pass on the world quests here. But if they drop gear, I will definitely take a look at it, because the gear that you're getting here is definitely, you know, looking at like 925, 930 level, as much as, so far anyway. Like, basically 910 relinquished is 190, I think it is, 190, 192, and these are 212 kind of, to 222 kind of gear. Whereas a legendary is 265, so. No, it is still 10. Darn, they went faster the second time. There's something about doing the same quest twice. Anyway, or 14 times when it comes to running like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 alts through here. Unfortunately, I did get my Agatha kitty cat skin, which was my priority one, but I'd been away from the game for a while, and I came back in mid to late May and said I have time to get all these alts who've never been in Argus before, all geared up to, you know, what'll it take? 900, 910 maybe, to do a few of these looks, and no, that was not the case. To get them quick, you really needed 950, 975, and I wasn't going to be running through the dungeons and raids and mythics and stuff to get that kind of gear, so I was stuck with what I could get to drop in the world. I wasn't going to run LFR either, so it was greater invasion bosses, rare world raid bosses that drop 930s and 950s, if you're lucky, and if you're really lucky, legendaries. And it would have been really, really handy if we'd had the capability we now have of buying selected legendaries, and had about, you know, twice the drop rate in the last couple of weeks since they nerfed the weapon. It would have been nice if they'd given us like twice the drop rate of Awakening Essences, so we could actually go and gear up a little quicker. So that's today's world quest. Okay, so that little turnaround was just me showing the blunderbuss. So if you back up and take a quick look at it, you'll see how my dwarf will love it. But okay, so here's my alt druid, who's also 930, and she has jumped directly here and said, I don't want to go through this. He says, you sure? And Anduin throws you into a mystical passage that looks like a boat but isn't, and you wind up here. Hey, you know, he's king and he's a priest, so he can do what he wants, and you end up here with nothing, breadcrumbs or anything else, so it's time to go back flying across. Now this tune was my original tune for the first 85 levels of my WoW life back in, starting in 2011 in Cataclysm, and so she does have 310 flying. So she can make this with nary a quarter, well, maybe a third of her health disappear. So I'm not going to go through those quests again. That would be too painful, but just to show that's all she had to do, and the world quests pop. So anyway, WoW Soloist out, and we'll see you in the next video. Enjoy!